Kia ora, ko fusmataho, nā mai ki te whare, welcome to the House. The final thing that Parliament does every year is formally agree to adjourn across the summer and return on the first day of a concurrently agreed new sitting calendar for the following year. For some reason, that agreement is generally preceded by the most chaotic, unfocused, haphazard, and sometimes just incoherent debate of the year. It is rare that any of the speeches mention the actual question under debate. They are akin to a motley collection of political Rorschach tests. Some speeches are defined by role, and some by personality. The adjournment debate is traditionally begun by the sitting Prime Minister, whose office will try to pen something that melds statesmanship, triumphalism, and political attacks, all leavened with humour and self-deprecation.
And to all of my haters over there, who say I use too much management speak, well, I don't know how I can be any clearer. What I would say to you is that we have some big goals to chunk down so that we can grip up the deliverables and benchmark our KPI targets, and I make no apologies for that. And Mr. Speaker, I saw a lovely headline. It was an absolutely lovely headline about David Seymour finding love. And while I know David and Winston's working relationship has been stronger than so many predicted, to be honest, I did think it was still quite a bold description of their relationship. Secret Santa with ACT this year was a disaster, though. They wouldn't stop taking credit for every present. Sorry. But seriously, to all my ACT colleagues, can I say Merry Christmas and may your dinner tables be devoid of woke food.
Those were some lighter moments. The Prime Minister's focus, though, was his government's policies and outcomes.
There's no doubt about it. New Zealand has elected us to actually get on to the issues that they care deeply about, and that is rebuilding the economy to reduce the cost of living. It's about restoring law and order to keep Kiwis safe. It's about delivering better public services like health and education. And 12 months is a very, very short time, and yet so much has happened, because when it comes to the economy, this year Kiwis have seen inflation down to 2.2%, down from 7.3%. They've seen 3 interest rate cuts after 12 rises. Their wages are rising faster than inflation for 4 quarters in a row after 13 quarters of declining real wages.
The leader of the opposition's focus was identical.
They promised to continue building state houses in opposition, and then they've basically cut funding to build any new state houses. They got rid of free prescriptions, got rid of half-price public transport, got rid of free early childhood education.
Opposition speakers have a harder task in this kind of debate. There is still an expectation of Christmas cheer, of fun. The House generally is pretty giddy by this point of the year, but opposition leaders have to do that and still be in opposition. Chris Hipkins began with an extended film metaphor, but increasingly veered away from the humour.
I think the most appropriate movie to compare this government to is Back to the Future, because that seems to be where they are taking the country. Let's catalogue the decisions they've taken this year, starting with the $2.9 billion tax cut they gave to landlords, whilst cutting the support for first home buyers. Repealing smoke-free legislation while giving over $200 million in tax breaks to tobacco companies. Cancelling the inter-island ferries with no viable replacement strategy. I could spend the rest of my speech just talking about the various yoga positions the government have demonstrated over the last week when it comes to their potential alternative. The Dunedin Hospital thrown into limbo by this government. A hiring freeze in our health system when it is under so much pressure.
On the humour score, Hipkins' speech was hilarious if compared with the Green leaders. Chloe Swarbrick didn't really feel that the national situation called for funny.
As we've just seen, these speeches are supposed to be light-hearted. Unfortunately, though, this government leaves anyone with a heart feeling pretty bloody heavy. What I remember from Sunday school, Mr. Speaker, is that the point of Christmas is supposed to be about love. But love is so abstract in this building. In fact, I'd say...
By tradition, the adjournment debate is pretty freewheeling. But Swarbrick had barely begun before Winston Peters made a point of order to complain that she had used the word bloody. She wasn't much put off. It certainly did not dull the intensity.
The government is making more people unemployed than punching down on those beneficiaries. The government tells us that it cares about localism, then it strips away local decision-making. The government is enabling mining in conservation land and commercial fishing in high protected areas. Where I come from, Mr. Speaker, words mean things. But in this place, you cannot say that somebody is lying if they are lying. In this place, you cannot say that something is racist if it is racist. Mr. Speaker, we can get up here at the end of the year and we can make jokes, but we cannot call a spade a spade.
Generally, people in government find it easier to see the upside of things. David Seymour spoke for ACT.
I'm also grateful to our coalition partners. It's been a pleasure to work with Christopher Luxon as the National Leader and Prime Minister. Although I've got to say, Chris, you said that it was a little bit difficult playing Secret Santa because ACT claimed the credit for every present. Now, let's just clear this up. You see, I actually thought it was a game of pass the parcel because there seemed to be a layer of blue wrapping over all the pink wrapping that we'd been trying to give the public. And I also want to thank... See, off the cuff, brother, didn't get anyone to write.
It was possibly somewhere during this speech that it all started falling apart a bit. By the end of Seymour's speech, opposition MPs were counting down with the clock to the end of his allotted time.
Or the economy. Mr. Speaker, I wish you a very happy Christmas and thank you everyone for their great work in 2024.
That'll be the last time we have that sort of soccer hooligan type counting.
But from the frying pan into the Peters. Next up was the leader of New Zealand First. Speeches made in Parliament's debating chamber are protected by something called absolute privilege, which means that MPs can say things in the chamber that would be considered defamatory if uttered outside. Here on the House, covering Parliament, we enjoy a hazy reflection of that privilege, a qualified version that allows journalists to honestly report on debates, but not to recklessly repeat problematic things. There are parts of Peter's speech that I would be very cautious to broadcast without a legal opinion. I can tell you that most of his speech was spent in a one-on-one shouting match with Te Pāti Māori leader Rawiri Waititi, who was interjecting loudly. And I can tell you that Peters made accusations against that party and members of it. And in a worrying mirror of recent American political speech, he also promised coming retribution.
So stand back and watch. When you declare war on us, you get a reply. That's coming next year. So you have a good Christmas, because you'll need it, sunshine.
Slow down the commentary.
And your big, loud mouth is not going to help you any longer. But you tell your leader, when you declare war on a party called New Zealand First, there's going to be repercussions. You know. Yes.
Just, hold on.
Hey, listen to him, see?
Hold on.
He can't shut his mouth.
I think it's also fair to say that the Speaker seemed to be struggling for control. Certainly his attempts to intervene seemed to be, well, ignored. As it happens, the next party scheduled to speak was Te Pāti Māori and Rawiri Waititi. He did something that earlier Te Pāti Māori leaders have also done. He sang part of his speech.
That'd be good.
Okay. Moko puna, are you listening? On your whenua, truth is glistening. A terrible flight, our TDT ride, marching on stolen Māori land. This year ain't been pretty. Toi tu, te TDT. A three-headed goose, but we know the truth, marching on stolen Māori land. In the beehive they can build a front man, act like there's not a racist clown. He'll say, will you join me? I'll say, no man. Our mokopuna will make a stand. Aotearoa, can you hear me? The polls are up, Te Pāti Māori. Tipuna whe, te riti le, marching on stolen Māori land. Marching on stolen Māori land. You finish it off with me. Marching on stolen Māori land. Merry Christmas. Winston, where are you? Merry Christmas. E koro.
He was not the only MP to use this tactic. Among the backbenchers who spoke was very new Labour MP Kushla Tangaere Manuel, who repeatedly burst into song, including this oppositional carol.
Don't bother playing because there ain't no rhythm here, Tungane. In the first year in government, the Nats forgot Kiwis. 12 billion borrowed, jobs down the gurgler, tens of thousands leaving, wine and a loser, straight lies and dunners, 7 Luxon houses, tax breaks for landlords. Where are the birds? 40,000 march, 3 strikes, back tobacco and guns, and no plan to replace the ferries. Merry Christmas, everybody.
The adjournment debate always includes 3 things that almost never appear anywhere else. Repeated thank yous to Parliament's many staff, and especially its cleaners, acknowledgement of MPs' families, who are usually kept well away from debate, and referential statistics. Chris Bishop.
Jokes aside, Mr Speaker, it has been a busy year in the House. We've had 93 first readings, 60 bills reported back from select committees, 60 third readings. Ministers have answered 87,000 written parliamentary questions. Thank you to everyone who's had a great year.
There is one other thing that often turns up, an acknowledgement of the bruising hurly-burly that is Parliament, accompanied by a wish that it went, well, better. National Senior Whip Scott Simpson.
I want to just reflect for a moment on the fact that nobody comes to this chamber with bad intentions, in my view. Nobody comes to this place wanting to make things worse. We may disagree and have strong views strongly expressed and sometimes sung about how to achieve the making of things better, but we all have that objective. But this is a place where strong views should be strongly held and strongly expressed, but with respect to each other, in my view.
And with a different take on that, the Speaker, Jerry Brownlee.
Look, can I just make the comment that the start of this debate today was certainly robust. And one of the great strengths of this country's democracy is the ability to have those slap them down, drag them out debates where people can say what they're thinking. It's very important. And I get a lot of letters as a speaker complaining about the way people deal with each other in this House, the things that are said, actions that are taken. I think it is sad that more people don't appreciate, just as my colleague Scott Simpson has said, so many other countries in the world live oppressed lives simply because they don't have an environment like this where different views can be so openly and receptively both made and received.
And back to Scott Simpson.
At times, to the members of the public who don't understand the intricacies of Parliament, it probably looks very chaotic, but there is a system, there is a structure, and it does, in its own quirky, weird, Kiwi way, work. And I think we can collectively be very proud of that. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you very much for your help, cooperation and support, and have a safe, enjoyable and relaxed summer period. Thank you.
You've been listening to The House. E te whakarango koe ki te whare. This program is produced with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mā te wā.